Ministry of Sport yesterday officially received a partial handover of the $40 million United States dollars China-aided National Stadium Rehabilitation Project. The completed or uncompleted facilities, which include the training field, basketball and volleyball court, and swimming pool, are now open and accessible to the public as we speak. When the main bowl football pitch will be available is something we don't know yet.
But before we delve proper into the conversation coming up in the program, we would get a word from our sponsor, Wakeup Commercial Bank, and that would be followed by other advertisers. Hey, grab a cup of tea or coffee and join us for breakfast this morning. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
More and more people are using Wakeup SIM Copper Plus in their everyday lives. Did you hear that? She just transferred money for her daughter's school fees. And this man just paid for some products. Ah, Mr. Abu, are you sending money to your wife again?
Yes, like Wakeup SIM Copper.
Ah.
Yes, like having money in my pocket.
Ah, excellent.
Thank you.
He just bought some eggs. The world is digital, so keep up with the times. Have you got a payment to make? If so, just download Wakeup SIM Copper Plus now. You can download the Wakeup SIM Copper Plus app from Apple iStore and iPad or Google Play Store for Android users. You see, it's fast, safe and reliable.
Sorry, car, go see some business partners.
You didn't give me memory, Michael. Can if I kiss a young, give me this car, people in, not so in that day.
Today you pay me money. I don't send it for let you help me send money in Ghana. 2 weeks now you not send me money and 10 you not give me back me money. Today, give me money.
You know ever sabi goodness in life. I send back your money, but trust me, today na the very last day I ever send money for now.
I don't need your help because I don't know so with Afri money. I dey able send money. Now Baku Africa countries them.
With Afri money, we able send money to over 10 African countries, whether it's Ghana, Gambia, Liberia, or Kenya. If me party didn't know this, we not follow the party grammar right now.
Okay, una go regret. I mean, now una go regret.
The best part right now, Michael, with Afri money, you dey able send money even if you not use app, even if you know the online directly. All you need for do is just a dial *161#. Pam, your money don't go. So I don't need the help again. Thief man.
Thank you.
Send money to over 10 African countries instantly with Afri money. No stress, no excuses. Just dial *161*1*6# now. Afri money, quick and easy.
Every day feels better with peace of mind, and peace of mind starts with preparation. Unexpected moments can happen anytime, but with the right insurance, you're always one step ahead. At J-Man Insurance, we help you protect what matters most: your life, your family, your future. Don't wait for what if. Prepare for what's next. Get covered today and move forward with confidence.
Again, it's been a very crazy day. The joyous feeling in the air when rain falls on a sunny day.
Happy, yeah. Let the stars, let the roll.
Enjoy life's little pleasures with Maltina. Maltina. Share happiness.
As mama, I always want waiting best for me picking them, especially when it comes for waiting them for eat and drink. Now this make I always they choose Sarah juice because they make come from with local foods them and nutritious and it gets less sugar than the other drinks them. Not to me say so.
We lab test show say Sierra juice gets 50% less sugar than the other drinks them na the market.
Because we mama they know waiting best for we picking them, now you make we always they choose Sierra juice. Sierra juice and nutritious, it healthy and it's sweet. Sierra juice, not the taste of Salone.
Fellow Sierra Leoneans, on 8th August 2024, Statutory Instrument Number 8 of 2024 regarding the conduct of nationwide population and housing census was successfully laid in Parliament. On 29th August 2024, this statutory instrument became effective following 21 days from its laying. Therefore, in line with the decennial census calendar, I am pleased to announce that my government will conduct a nationwide population and housing census.
It's 2026, we dey get with census. Make all man tell him fambulem, responsibility for bring development. Make all man tell him fambulem. From the east to the west, blah blah blah. From the north to the south, no matter how you dare or you try, blah blah blah. You want to come, mama or papa, blah blah blah. One pikin or grandpa, blah blah blah. Auntie or uncle, blah 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 blah. Multiple, may they call you. One people, one nation. May they call you. Now we know back up bills alone. May they call you. No person say you not here. May they call you. May they call you.
I'm a papa. Make we come together now. Brother, sister. Nothing say you no matter, no. No left behind, no. This night you 10 for. Can join the census. Salon now we on.
Okay, well, show me your name. Show me your address. For make you go join the plan. The census go make you get the access. For make you go vote now this land. Let the all you. If you don't want make them country again, make them grip you. Cause this time you're salon for right.
See what you been a second cabo aduo. We bring good news, salon people here yo. Census don't come again. We ready for control. Sky from the young to the old. Say the census go help make development day. Allow me then continue till you know go pay. It go help plan more schools, hospital and lights, even water for you community. Who say you there?
May they call you. Yeah, one people, one nation. May they call you. Yeah. Now we know back up bills alone. May they call you. Yeah. No person say you not here. May they call you. Yeah. May they call you.
Census they come, the other we cooperate. Tell mama and papa, then get for country all, yeah, make we all ready. Census go help for make we know we safe, and who say we stand. If you claim say you love Salone, we say development day, na day you for day.
Yambo tegina, mimbo tegina. Mingo tetege biambe. Ka 2026. Census na me right, census na you right. Family. Imagine. If they count everybody, they left you out.
Amulemba kotumogbawa. Upoka kufuninge sagbele tuwa. Tonya, ye amubuji hule panda. Wabulole tabogbawa bayaganga. Ye tumogbawa mudagbe behave. Kometi ya kuo salon bate mukweleva. Ngabi yina na mea tabogbawa na. Yo mama kome kolabo ganya delega. Ina.
Kakotone dim ding dang, dim ding dang, dim ding dang. Katap kata ting anka be kata konkel, anka be kata panganda yer. Abageto baget, aindo gor. Akalene, tamo jamu, agatamu, tarentamu. Donye, mama marita kangontu.
Ame ya timi wandi, timi wandi. Ame ya timi wandi, timi wandi. Mwa kongo tami wandi, ungewa menda milwena wo. Ya kongo tabi wandi, ungeba handa bebe holo.
From the east to the west, blama blama. From the north to the south, blama. No matter how you dare or you try, blama blama. You want to go, mama or papa, blama blama. One picking on grandpa, blama blama. Auntie or uncle, blama blama. Motibe, may they confuse, yeah. One people, one nation, may they confuse, yeah. Now we number go be a salon, may they confuse, yeah. No person say you no care, may they confuse, yeah. May they confuse,
Welcome back. A quick reminder, this is Wakeup Saturday on AYV TV and radio here in Freetown. Now, President Dr. Julius Maada Bio yesterday engaged directly with citizens during the 3rd annual National Presidential Town Hall meeting at the University of Makeni Auditorium in Makeni.
Organized by the Ministry of Information and Civic Education, the event forms part of the government's ongoing commitment to promoting accountability, transparency, and inclusive citizen participation in governance.
Hosting the 2026 Town Hall meeting in Makeni, Makeni traditionally is a stronghold of the political opposition, APC, marks a deliberate attempt by the administration of President Julius Maada Bio to decentralize governance. The Town Hall meeting was themed Year of Action.
Now, during the town hall meeting, the president spoke on the challenges and successes in the country: energy, feed saloon, the economy, human capital, youth empowerment, education, drug trafficking, transnational crimes, leadership, among other things. So this morning, we're going to discuss the outcome of the town hall meeting in Makeni. In the studio for that conversation, we have Sheka Mansari Jr. He's a human rights expert and a social entrepreneur, and also community development advocate. Also in the studio, we have Melvin Tijan Mansari, a media and political analyst. Good morning, gentlemen. Thanks for joining us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
We're also expecting to be joined by Alhaji Alpha Khan, the presidential spokesman. Hopefully he joins the conversation at some point. But yeah, gentlemen, let's start the conversation. Sheka, let's talk about the location of choice, first of all. Makeni is predominantly an APC-dominated locality. It's been one of the strongholds of the main opposition. What do you think about even choosing that location?
Thanks a lot for having me. The location plays a significant attention-driven method from the side of the government, but as well the participation do not reflect the location. That was one of the, I was there, and that was one observation I made. Because when you take a look at the people that posed the questions, we are not residents from Makeni. They were sought out from different parts of the country. So it means the event was held in Makeni, but the citizens who posed questions were out of Makeni.
Was it state managed?
Well, I'll tell you for sure that the meeting that was held yesterday was, I will describe it to be a programmatic agenda designed to bring what the government thinks is their achievement and to canvass an ideal of national unity from what the questions spoke to. Even though we'll have to come to those integrities, but briefly you will look at, for example, Mr. Alfred Mansare's question which he asked, which was talking about how would the president try to amend the divide that do exist, which unfortunately the minister said, well, he responded by defining it as a so-called divide, which was shocking.
Was the minister holding brief for the president yesterday? Because I saw people asking questions like, you know, President Bio, what have you achieved? What are your weaknesses? And was that the question people of Makeni were expecting to ask, in your opinion?
Well, that's where I'm coming. Because you look at, if it were the situation that the participants in the hall would have come up with their own questions, I think these answers may have been proffered. But the questions were already selected, designed, and chronologically presented to the audience and the larger population to just streamline now to what they want us to hear. So if these questions will have been asked, for example, the minister was to allow the president the leverage to lay his own foundation of those responses, which was not the case. Like I said, particularly with that question from Pa Alpha Mansari, who questioned as to what will be the president's approach to kind of amend the national divide that do exist on regional and tribal lines. And then quickly, the minister came in and said, so-called. So once you say it's so-called, I mean it's not existing. It's kind of defined by opinions. And I don't think it's defined by opinions until we agree to the facts that Sierra Leone is indeed divided and we need methods to amend that division that will begin to solve some of those discussions that we are held there.
All right, we'll go deeper into much of the different aspects that were touched on. But Melvin, your perspective, the town hall itself, taking it to Makeni, the whole way the event was organized, what do you think about it?
Firstly, let's begin with the Makeni, the location of the venue. I think it was deliberate in sending two messages. One that attempts to convey, we are a politically cohesive country, irrespective of the fact that Makeni is deemed the stronghold of the main opposition. I think that was deliberate in conveying that aspect of cohesion, but also on the reverse, it sends a message of political brinksmanship. You are taking the message to an audience or an unexpected audience that somebody will say, well, you get mind for go meet them. So I think the credit there is the government was bold, the president was bold, and his team was bold. They could have gone to Kenema or Bo, but it could have also been obvious that, this now a party stronghold. So that distinction in the selection of the venue, I think we should give some credit to the government because it sends a message of, yes, Makeni lives matter. Makeni is part of Sierra Leone, and thus that's what the message conveys. But as to the spontaneity and independence of the event. That can be a whole question for another day, because some of the questions were indeed not spontaneous, except for the two, I think, that was taken from the floor. Even at those two questions, you will sense as journalists, we understand what is called priming and framing. The priming and the framing of the nature of the questions itself sends one message. You know, Phoebian, the World Cup is ongoing, and there is what is called sports washing. I'll use a new word. That was an event washing. Government trying to convey all things bright and beautiful with this event. So yes, that could be another aspect on the audience, how they were selected and the kind of questions that were asked. But there are certain things that I think were deliberately omitted or not considered, which are some, for me, were top concerns. You can't be going to McKinney in reality, which we know is the not only the political, spiritual homeland of the APC, but also one of the APC big guns, Anes by Kuruma. And don't talk about Anes by Kuruma. That was a huge omission, because we know his trial is still in what I would call either oblivion or perpetuity and uncertainty. And for me, I was expecting the president to have addressed that issue, especially when he spoke on political cohesion.
So we'll come to look at the relevance as to the things that were touched on and the things that were omitted. But before we continue, let's get an excerpt from the town hall meeting itself yesterday and some of the highlights from President Bio's statement or interaction with the people.
First, I want for giving her the assurance, say, as a society, as leadership, they do everything within we means and power for stamp out drug abuse inside this country. There is a commitment to it, and we don't take certain actions, government not get yai or side for see. The policeman that we are get, they not they all side for see. The drug enforcement officers they will get, they not go able they all side for see. But I want for assurance say, yes, we all in the community. We know whether they sell drug, we know whether they bring drug, we know whether side they put today, we know who side this day, everything. We cannot say we don't know. We cannot. So the appeal where they appeal to now, not to for just say government. Yes, we will provide the leadership, but I want for the sake of we generation, the way they ahead of we, the young people then, make we not let sit down drug abuse. 4 weeks ago, another 4 containers of tramadol. We don't even put a law say tramadol. The tablet form them for stopping. We don't inform partners that out of Sierra Leone, so that nobody know they send one way past 50 milligram. We are doing all of this. We partners then, the one that where they produce the drug there, need for also help we. Not for just the blame. This Sierra Leone narcotic or whatever center. Most of the things that way they come out, if they pass through international waters and pass we on side, because we are in a strategic geographical position. The same reason why slave trade then be used here as a center, and the same reason why it's so easy from Latin America and for campus now. One assurance we want to make is that we as a human capital government not going to make the human beings then, and they bring and support anybody where they bring something, we go camp with the same human being there. That's the assurance I will give you. And that we are fully determined for make sure say we not go actively participate in anything, we go support the trade, encourage the trade, or for do anything, we go make it easier.
As we divide the conversation by bits, let's start with the conversation on drugs. President spoke a lot about a lot of things on why Sierra Leone is now becoming a route, but not much was said or anything about the Bullios situation, Yoslai Jekkers, which has allegedly been linked to the first family Was that a missed opportunity for clarity from his perspective on all the allegations levied against him and his family in connection to your Slyjakers?
Absolutely, Fabian. And I think it's not the part chap. The part chap that side is big. I listened, and I think I listened thrice last night to find out where and how comes it never mentioned or attempted to even go closer. In fact, the only attempt he made is like he mentioned a certain personality. And for me, I think that was the opportunity for him to have come out, not only in saying the government's position on just presence or not, but his alleged association with his daughter. And that was missed opportunity, whether it was deliberate, I think. And another thing against the part chap, I don't know that we don't prep the part. There is no report. I will challenge my president. There is no report from UNODC, from the United States Department, ever calling Sierra Leone a narco state. The last report describes Sierra Leone as a transshipment hub. So when you have a president and government officials continue down the path of blackmailing their own country in defense against blackmail, it's disastrous.
But there are citizens who have taken to social media to refer to Sierra Leone as now a narco state.
Those are their independent opinions. If you want to look at credible institutions fighting drugs, the other day was International Day on Drugs and United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, their reports, latest was 2025. It has never mentioned Sierra Leone as a narco state. United States Department of State, no report from credible institution has ever described us as a narco state. So for we the rush now begin calling ourselves narco states in defense of being called a transshipment hub or whatever. I think that was mixed, because if you're having a president making allusions to fictions on narco states, I will not be surprised tomorrow if UNODC and other people are coming out to give us the nomenclature. Mr. President, with all due respect, we've never been designated as a narco state. So when you, as the president, is lending credence to fictitious narrations, I think that was a big chap from the part.
Was he perhaps responding to members of the opposition who are all over social media saying we are a narco state?
Is there any public statement from the opposition calling Sierra Leone a narco state?
Members of the opposition.
Even the statements of Abdul Kagbo, the leader of the opposition, has not described Sierra Leone as a narco state. And the president was very mindful of the consequences. If you call your country a narco state, when the world has not called it a narco state, by the time you know it, your passport becomes irrelevant. You will be subjected to extra scrutiny that another country will be subjected to. It was an opportunity for the president to correct the narrative, not to amplify the misgivings. Sierra Leone has not been described as a narco state. But yes, the trends are showing that we might slip into a narco state. Do you know what's a narco state? Haiti. The other name for a narco state is a failed state. So when the president says that, he's technically saying that we are already a failed state. Are we? That was a big chap. I don't know if a left foot chap or right foot chap from the part.
But it wasn't saying Sierra Leone is a narco state. It was saying to people to be mindful of referring to Sierra Leone as a narco state, reminding of the consequences.
I have my notes. I will not accept the nomenclature of Sierra Leone being called a narco state. Who has defined Sierra Leone as a narco state?
Away from that, Shaka, let's look at the problem he identified, owning up to the fact that Sierra Leone is a very strategic location, which is why, similar reasons why it was used during the slave trade, it's now used for people into drugs. But it means that the president understands that that's a problem and there is a problem, but not much about what the solution to that problem can be, being that the problem is now causing an embarrassment to the state.
I disagree. I disagree. In fact, the entire West Africa was identified by European powers then as their location for that transshipment. It was not just Sierra Leone. When you read back our history to 1625, 1742, all those historical dates justifies that European countries did identify larger harbors. We had one, which we still do have, and most of the West African states were identified for that same purpose, including Ghana. That's why it was the coastal country, don't forget. In fact, they had the largest arbor trade relevance for the Europeans at that given time. But those countries are not complacent with their shipment activities dealing with drugs. When last do you hear anything about Ghana in a drug scandal of this magnitude? When?
In that area, what were you expecting from the president in that conversation?
So it will have owned up to the facts other than trying to give excuses. I mean, we have the largest arbor. Is for us to utilize and leverage on those opportunities for economic growth. But if we are utilizing that when the president's family are running institutions dealing with the very arbor, the very shipment, what's question? By now, he should be firing the BO representative at the water key, at the ports, if we want to be honest and sincere. We've had 3 shipments within a year that have been caught. Where are they leaving from? The Sierra Leone port. And who is in charge of that institution there? Is a nephew of the president. And who appointed him? The president. So he would have owned up to the facts that his appointees are participating in drug activities. Let me tell you what we can also look at. Why do you think hurriedly Honorable Kane was relieved from the immigration department? We all saw a video of him receiving gifts from an individual suspected to be just, which the Sierra Leone defined as Umar. Who is that Umar, Sheriff? And then briefly, in his statement, Mr. President, he did say his police officers could not be everywhere. That was a logical way to kind of say, oh, we don't have the capacity to handle this issue. Is that so? That is not the case. So the issue of our harbor, the issue of our centrality to the waterway should be of our benefit. Just imagine, we are 108 in the hungriest nations in the world, out of 123 for 2026. 2023, we were 115. We came down to 108. What development is that? And the factors that affects state development dealing with our socioeconomic growth, one, you look at our importation. You look at our reputation. These are things you don't joke with. Your importation and reputation. Importation does not only look at the goods themselves. You look at even the services that comes in. What services have we brought into our country through those waters? What services have we been able to maximize because we have a greater harbor? You know, in some states, they will do contracts with ships. So ships will come there for maintenance because we have the harbor for them to rest and do their maintenance. That's how it happens in other Western countries that do have good harbors. Countries like, don't go far away, Cape Verde. They lack all these facilities. So what they do, they have MOUs with other countries who own waters. They take their shipments there, they do their transactions. Papua New Guinea, they benefit from that. They have a larger water space. So countries that do not have, allow their ships to come there for maintenance and other things. This yacht, this big yacht, you have owners of yachts like the Arabs. They have larger yachts, but they don't have packages for them. So they take them to other countries that do have harbors. Why? And they pay. So we should have utilized our waters, which today is the excuse. I mean, I think we are asking God, why do you give us something we should benefit from and it's becoming an excuse for drugs?
Was this an effort to quote the famous quotation from Chinua Achebe that says, when dry bones are mentioned, old people becomes weary? Is this the case wherein, even as Melvin has stated, without us being named or termed as a narco state, are we already classifying ourselves, whether it is from opposition rhetorics that they got this narco state narrative that the president is denying now, or whether the current government is concerned that we're going to be labeled that? Because we've seen the chief minister in videos saying we are not that type of state, and he was referring to, I think, the Netherlands government or even the European Union to say we are in a society wherein we should benefit and we should have mutual respect for each other. Most of the drugs, quoting him now, we are having here in Sierra Leone are imported from Europe and Asia. And we are not classifying European countries or Asian countries as narco states, and we shouldn't be referred to as one. Is this the case, or is this a case to say that we sabi we safe? We know what we're doing, and so we are afraid that they are going to label us like that, and so we started calling ourselves that name.
These are my hands and fingers. If I don't touch anything that stinks, I don't have to smell them. Is that right? It's because our state leaders are aware of the things they are touching, so they smell in their hands. Nothing else. Otherwise, I will not be in a hurry to define myself a narrative that I have not been defined. And I will not be in the position, let me be honest with you. If you say I'm a thief, if you do say that I'm a thief, that's what you're saying. And then in my response, I am saying now, oh, you think I'm a murderer? I'm kind of exaggerating your perception about me. So that's what the state is doing. Why are they doing that? Because you don't throw stones where you got your glasses. They've thrown stones already. The evidences are there. You know, as I speak to you, the European Union received a petition against us, Sierra Leone. Yes. Are you aware of that? And that petition is what they are trying to defend. Let me tell you the logic now. Because that petition raises the bar for the state to defend. But they don't want to come in and say they are defending that petition. So they are beating around to kind of lay the foundation. But that is wrong. And the application to the European Union is that if Sierra Leone do not take action to remedy this situation of drugs and that of Jos, then we are seeing funds being seized back from the European Union and cutting ties with us. I think that's the fear of the government. So for them to kind of react to that, they are beating around the bush. If they would have been bold enough, they should have responded to that petition. Like being in McKinney, we would have loved to see a position paper from the state directly on the subject matter. I think that's the frank thing to do. Do a position paper that this is our status. We don't believe we're a narcotic state, if you want to argue that, and you give us reasons. But telling us, the citizens, is like the president they put int per we. And not a we want Salone for being a narcotic state. But if we not touch shit, we not go smell we are.
Was he saying that because he was in Makeni, and Makeni is widely known to be the capital of the opposition?
Was the opposition, first of all, fully... we are the ordinary citizens, first of all, present in that hall? The answer is no. So he wasn't referring to them. President was speaking to the world.
Wasn't it an open event? Where
no, it wasn't.
It was per invitation?
In fact, it was selective, that I would say. And the conversations would have been meant for ordinary citizens who feel the pinch of state backwardness. I mean, at a given time wherein we still have $72 per barrel of fuel across the world, the price which is equivalent to where we are 2021. These are the subject matters. Did he address that?
But one will argue that there were people who, well, so to speak, were indigents or are indigents of Makeni who were present, who would have used the opportunity, you know, to bring down the concerns of the people of Makeni. For instance, the mayor was there. Rightly so, he spoke of energy, which in this program and multiple programs we've spoken about as a concern that the city of Makeni is not getting electricity. He raised that issue. And also the issue of road within Makeni and also without Makeni, wherein you have these feeder roads connecting other big towns within and around Bombali district. Were these not the legitimate concerns now that the Makeni people want to see solved when you have a representative like the mayor in there holding the mic?
When did he speak and what was he asked to talk? Was he asked to pose a question? Was he?
Yes, and he asked the question on electricity
On
and the road.
Electricity and the road. That was an individual. Is the mayor an ordinary citizen?
No, but the mayor of Makeni City, he is the mayor. He knows Makeni better than anyone else.
Let me tell you my view.
So if the mayor took the mic and had the opportunity to ask questions and address the president, and he didn't do it as expected, who would have done it better?
Okay, let me throw some shade on what I think would have happened. In my view, the best thing to have been done was to allow a cross-section of the Makeni population factored from different walks of life.
They will argue that that was what was done. We saw persons with disability there. We saw children who asked questions. We saw students. So who are these people that would have been selected?
Let me tell you the logic there. The people who spoke, in exception of the mayor, those people that were selected, we are not. You know, in a town hall meeting, I remembered sometimes back in the UK when Boris Johnson was mayor. And then there was an issue in that borough. They wanted a town hall meeting to address the solution. You converge at the hall, and then you allow random questions, not selecting individuals to pose questions. When you select individuals to pose questions, you are kind of streamlining what you want them to ask. That is my point. I think that's the fact, and that is my point. And the major part of the conversation has already been held by pre-recorded questions that were asked. And those pre-recorded questions were tailored into 6 categories, if you heard what the minister said earlier. And they were clustered. And when they were clustered, those issues which are the bone of contention, like cohesion, they were clustered and dealt with already. So you don't expect questions to come from there.
Melvin, we saw what happened in the first town hall meeting at Bintumani, right? Where a lady asked a question, and that question had so many debates around it. Is this government trying to stage manage such a situation from not happening again?
No, without holding a brief for the government, for once, I want to talk like a Sierra Leonean. If we are going to use the Makeni mayor as a case study, we can deduce 2 things. One, that even when many people perceive it to be an agenda-set event, but it's botched. It's botched in 2 occasions. One, the mayor refutes and debunks the president's assertion that 60 to 70% of the energy is not coming with return by saying that it's pay as you go. What was that saying? That if you not pay for the lights, you need to get her. And again, for the fact that the mayor himself was on the floor as an opposition, you cannot entirely say it was stage managed. That was the first part on that. And the other aspect on the same aspect of the mayor. The mayor, for me, that was the ice-breaking moment, even if it was a stage managed event. Because guess what? When the mayor mentioned, when the president was talking about roads, and the good thing we should celebrate from that interaction in Makeni, if I was coming from Makeni, that was the biggest takeaway, in fact. The president assured the people of Makeni that the minister of whatever is called is now under instruction to expedite the Makama Road. I go to Makeni frequently. That was a big takeaway. So in that stead, you can't say that was stage managed because the president was there. In fact, the mayor pushed him that we presented 4 roads. I think the big personality of that occasion from a neutral perspective was the mayor, because he challenged the president that we need a thief light. He did that subtly, if I'll put it, that now what people pay for 9 and they use, although you say 60 to 70% are thief light. And again, the president exposed himself to being a weak president. If the pardon gains, why not the pull on? He said that sector, the itinerary see the dynamic just pull answer full. He said, Yum Kela, Olona Manwe Sabi. In SSSF every day. What was he saying? He was accepting that the energy problem is bigger than his control.
Was that not honesty rather than beating about the bush, making excuses, or just saying what people would want to hear rather than reflection of the
Had it been in advanced democracy, people should be calling for a vote of no confidence in him.
Because you go be the minister, you don't go control, you don't go put minister. So technically, he was saying that even the minister we should not expect much from him because he, as the president that steered that ship, he was unable. He was technically saying that Kande Yumkela, as the global technocrat on energy, is unable. That's admission of omission. It means that his leadership is not competent on the subject matter.
So is the society encouraging leaders, that's from the president to all the leaders, to be evasive from being truthful to the people to just presenting stories that would best sit right with them?
Your question is logical. It was not being truthful. It was being rhetorical. The opening rhetoric of his comments when he was talking about McKinney in specific, he made a cast an aspersion that 60 to 70% of the energy where people are using McKinney, money they return from. That was an aspersion. That's not honesty, Fabian. If it's about honesty, where is the data? What can you say about Bo, Kenema, and elsewhere, bonds?
No, I'm referring to the electricity challenge. Generally, he spoke about that. He himself had led the sector for a while, and he had to excuse leading the energy sector. That's what I'm asking.
So that is not honesty. That is admission of failure. Did we vote for him to fail us and come and tell us that this gave me a big pass me? No, that's not honesty. If he wanted to be honest, he could have presented data on Bo, McKinney, Kenema, Bond, Kabbalah. But you were spotlighting McKinney in a bad light, and yet still, you are not able to provide data for other places. That was not honesty. That was political rhetoricism.
Stay with us, gentlemen. We'll come right back to you. We've now been joined by Alhaji Alpha Khan. He's the presidential spokesman. He's with us in Studio 2. Good morning, Alhaji. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you very much.
Let's I don't know if you're following the conversation before you got to the studio, the submission of the two men in the studio, but I'll take you back to where it started. The drugs situation. President Bio spoke a lot about it, but not much about the allegations against him and the first family, the connection to Boleyos. That was conspicuously absent from the conversation.
Good morning again. Thank you very much. The President spoke about the drug situation that's plaguing us in West Africa as a general situation that we are confronted with. The President more or less said that the accident of geography that Sierra Leone and other West African countries that is on the bulge of Africa find themselves is so unfortunate that we are the closest point across the Atlantic from South America. And as you know, ships sailing to anywhere, they'll always look for a nearer watering hole, staging post, and the natural place for ships going to Europe or even going down to the Cape will find West Africa, coming from South America, the natural choice. And that is why we're exposed to so much incursions, as I say, from the South African point. It's natural. And as you can see that even the European Union now has realized that, yes, because of our position, we will always be a soft spot. We'll always be a vulnerable position for ships sailing across there. Not that because we open doors to them, it's just that it is a convenient point to first stop before you go anywhere else and take your supplies, take your waters and things like that. It happened with the slave trade. It happened with the Falkland Wars, when Britain was fighting with Argentina on the Falkland Wars. Sierra Leone was the staging post because it is the shortest point for them to cross the Atlantic from their own side here of the Atlantic. So they come to Sierra Leone, they used us as a port of call, and then from here sail to Falklands. So it is a natural thing. And you cannot then discount the possibility that elements, maybe desirable or undesirable, might want to use that opportunity to give us problems. So that is the situation. Now, as it stands, even the EU has noticed that we have a weak marine maritime surveillance, to the extent that very recently, I think a week ago, they donated 2 patrol boats to help us with this. So they know that it is a situation that we must be helped to fight against. And everything else that follows it is a derivative and a consequence of that unfortunate piece of geography.
Honorable, you were part of the All People's Congress Party, and when the party was in power, you, more than anyone else, would know the people of Makeni and what they stand for and how vocal they can be or might be. Would you say truly that the people of Makeni were represented in this town hall meeting?
They were very well represented yesterday. You cannot have all of the Makeni people there. You can have a sampling of the Makeni people. You'll have market women there. You'll have traders there. You'll have drivers there. You'll have Okada boys there. You'll have politicians there. You have chiefs there. Everybody that's a representative of communities in that Makeni and Bombali district, in fact, were represented yesterday. And it came out to be a very well turnout event, an event that people appreciate. An event that all of us are happy that it did take place. In fact, for me, it was what you would call a milestone for His Excellency the President.
And the President also spoke on the issue of the economy. But yet, when we look at the reality, many families say they struggle with their everyday lives. I'll bring a comparative analysis to you. Exactly 5 years ago, on the 30th of June 2021, the pump price of fuel was increased from 8,500 leones to 9,500 leones, or 9 leones, so to speak. 5 years down the line, yesterday, 30th of June 2026, it is at 33 leones. Will the President say this is a better pricing 5 years down the line for the people of Makeni to appreciate in that town hall meeting yesterday, that you say they were represented fully?
Well, the question of the pump price for fuel does not only affect the people of Makeni, it affects everybody in Sierra Leone. And Makeni being part of Sierra Leone, because they would appreciate that, in fact, by the time we went there, a week ago, or even 2-3 days ago, fuel in terms of petrol was 35 leones, now it's 33, you're saving 2 leones. And gas, the diesel, was 40 leones, now it's 35. That's a reduction. This is because there has been a lot of reduction in the animosities across the Strait of Hormuz. A few ships are getting across now. The effects of the changes in fuel, especially, I'm not talking about every other commodity, although the changes in fuel price affects every other commodity in this country, is that we don't control. One, we don't produce fuel. Two, we don't control the traffic. And of course, 5 years ago, as you mentioned, there was no Ukraine war. 5 years ago, as you mentioned, there was no Iran-US war. There was no blocking of the Strait of Hormuz. So it's very unfair to use that period to compare, because 5 years ago, the world was stable. 5 years ago, there were no very serious issues that affected. And 5 years ago, there was no COVID, I'd say. You know, all of these things are they are very important factors that change the pricing of commodities to the consumer. So the people of Makeni will appreciate. The people of Sierra Leone will appreciate that. When it is convenient, when it is possible, that government will put in some money in terms of subsidies to help cushion the price of fuel. But when it is convenient also, government will do its best. Apart from putting in the subsidies, they will also try to reduce the prices of the pump prices, as they have done. So I'm sure people appreciate that this government is a listening government. It's a government that is not afraid of accountability. It's not afraid of facing the people, facing the music, as they say. And yesterday we faced the music. And you can see that the applause that followed, the candor of the President's statements, the candor of the President's answers, responses to questions that were asked by ordinary people in Makeni, in Bombali, was so commendable that people appreciate his decision to meet with them.
And another thing also that came out from that town hall meeting, you know, has to do with the issue of electricity. for a very long time, the people of Makeni have complained that they're not having power supply. And in fact, in the dry season, it's even worse. We saw what happened between February, March, and April. And the president responded by saying that 60 to 70% of electricity supplied to Makeni is not paid for. Is this the reality? Is this how the president should have responded to people who have not been having electricity for over 4 to 5 months now? Or constant or sufficient electricity for over 4 to 5 months now?
The people of Makeni are among the luckiest in terms of supply of electricity. I know because I was in the last government. I know because I know what we did to make sure that Makeni gets constant electricity supply. But when the main source of supply for electricity in Makeni, which is Bumbuna, dries up, and it continues to drier every year because of the deforestation, because of the shallow level of water that is happening now because of erosion that's happening because of the timbering and logging they're doing up on the hills around the reservoir and the riverbed. It's causing us to lose water level every year more than the year before. So every year you see that there's a reduction in output more than it was at the same time the year last year. So that is what is happening to us. It's our own fault. As they say, man is the architect of his own destruction. So Makeni has been suffering this year because of the highest level of reduction reduction in the depth of water this time, and Bumbuna could not produce as much as it used to. In the rains, come August just now, Bumbuna would produce about 50 megawatts. But when it is in the dry seasons, it's in the area of 5 to 8 megawatts. And how do you distribute that? Makeni alone takes about 8 megawatts anyway. So if Bumbuna produces 8 megawatts, and they cannot give all of that to Makeni, we have to drop some at Bumbuna itself, we have to drop some at Magbraka, and I think Magbraka takes about 1 megawatt, and Makeni needs 8 megawatts. If they get 2, 3, 4 megawatts, they will complain, because it means some other places will not get, and that is what they are saying for 6 months. But they are about the luckiest people. So what happened is a natural thing. It's a force of our own environmental behavior that we are doing. But government is doing its best to improve that. In fact, he did announce in that same vein yesterday that Bumbuna's capacity will be increased between now and December to about 100 megawatts, because they are bringing in another turbine to put in the channels to make sure that we can increase and double the capacity. When that happens, if we get 100 megawatts during the rains and 16 to 20 megawatts, I'm sure Makeni will get that 8 megawatts which they need. So I think it's a matter of being patient. It is good to mention that, but Makeni should think of other areas which have not had electricity at all, sometimes for a whole year. So it is a natural problem for us in Sierra Leone. And what government is doing is putting in programs and processes in place to ensure that. He talked about the NANT project that we are now putting together in Freetown that will give us 108 megawatts, twice the capacity from Bumbuna. So maybe at some point, Freetown will not need so much supply from Bumbuna anyway. We have just commissioned the solar project at Newton, which is 30 megawatts. That will add to 108 of NANT, will give the extra 138 megawatts. There are also other productive generation capacities here in Freetown. So by the time we finish, because by the end of December next year, we'll be expecting extra 200 megawatts into the system. So we will be
the impact of all these interventions.
Sorry?
The impact of all these interventions in the electricity sector is still debatable. But Melvin was saying, the president acknowledging yesterday that there are challenges in the sector, pointing to the fact that at some point he had also sat as the head of that sector, and he had to eventually just exit that position, being the head of the energy sector. Melvin says that's an admission of failure.
I think Melvin's position is too extreme. I think Melvin should understand that the problem of electricity generation in Sierra Leone did not start today. It happened when Mr. Amadou Taylor was manager back in the 1980s. It happened in 1990s when Ahmed Doumbouya was managing director at the time. It happened in the 2000s when Professor Ogunade was minister. It happened when Robin Coker was minister. It's happening all the time. But what is important is that what are you doing to mitigate that? And that's what you should look at. Today it is bad, but is there any process that will make me feel hopeful for tomorrow? What the government is doing today is that we are making people feel hopeful, because we're just giving you all of this production generation that is going to come in on stream to give you hope that it will change, it will improve. But then don't forget, the problem with energy is that the more you get, the more demand there is. Because those people who were using a ventilation fan in the house, the moment they get more electricity, they'll buy air conditioner and all sorts of things. Things will change. So the demand increases with supply. So it is never enough. And it is not only used for social needs, for domestic needs. The industries also need it. We also need it to improve the business climate in Sierra Leone. So energy itself is an LCM for development. It's a least common multiple. So that is why government is paying so much attention. The president did not admit that he failed. The president said that I know that this problem was big. I went there, I saw, so I said I will leave it to those people who are capable in that field. President was not voted to be a minister of energy. He was voted to manage the overall.
But he was
city.
voted
He
to
was,
appoint the right people who would get the job done.
Yeah, that is why when he changed the minister, when the minister resigned at that time, he resigned because of health reasons. Alhaji Kanja Sisi was doing well at the time. He had to resign. It was a bit of a shock to the president. And he looked around and said, who would I put there now? But look, let me go in there and see what is happening. He went there, he saw the problem, and he was able to choose the right people and put them there. Now I'm telling you how this situation is being improving. It's improving. He went there to have first-hand information. He's got that information. He knows now that it is not a small problem. It is a big problem that needs a whole of government involvement, including you. Like you said yesterday in McKinney, he said, because if we generate the electricity and you don't pay for the electricity, we're going to have problems. And that non-payment is not today. That non-payment has been ongoing for a long time. What EDSA has to do is to see how they can increase their revenue base by being proactive in their collection. Well, they must come up with new ideas and all that, how they can make sure that people who consume electricity pay for it.
Let's talk about education. The president made a strong allegation against WAEC, saying that the institution itself is complicit in examination malpractices, saying he's got evidence to the effect. What's the way forward that the president now says he's got evidence? If there's evidence WAEC is complicit, what's the next line of action?
Well, this statement of the president was generalizing what happened in WAEC. I think there was a particular case which I think was well publicized, that somebody working in WAEC had actually taken exam papers and did change the answer sheets for somebody that's related to them and slotted in. And that person was gone. So because he belongs to that organization called WAEC, as they say, one bad apple spoils the whole lot, one rotten fish spoils the whole basket. So that is why WAEC is not complicit. So, but I'm sure that particular problem has been weeded out. The fact of the behavior of particular individuals in the WAEC establishment is now being monitored more rigorously than it used to be. It means that we just have to keep an eye, a stronger, more attention into what's happening in WAEC.
Sheka, the educational sector itself does have a challenge now. You would find that at tertiary level, there is such a strong underperformance of students at universities. It questions the credibility of our education system from pre-primary, primary, all the way up to university stage. And President saying yesterday, WAEC itself as an institution is complicit in the examination malpractice. It sends a message that, yes, indeed, we do have a problem in the educational sector.
Kindly forgive me, I will answer that. But let me just have a few seconds to clarify something. Honorable spokesperson mentioned something I want to clarify very quickly before I move forward. There is 3,180 nautical miles between Dakar coast and that of Recife in Brazil, which is southeast. There is 3,320 between that same distance in Monrovia to that of South America, Recife, and there is 3,170 for Sierra Leone. It's about 10 nautical miles or 5 nautical miles difference. And the closest there is Dakar, but on the straight line is Sierra Leone. So it means we have 4 West African states, approximately the same distance to that of the southern port. These problems are not there. I just want to make that clarification.
And if I may come back, I said the bulge of West Africa. The bulge of West Africa includes Senegal. The bulge of West Africa includes Guinea-Bissau. The bulge of West Africa includes Guinea-Conakry, Sierra Leone, and Liberia. So I talked about the bulge, not just Sierra Leone. But the closest is actually Sierra Leone, according to you. So thank you very much. That is the accident of geography I'm talking about.
My agreement with you.
Thank you. Thank you.
My premise is, if these countries, that's why I give the distances.
Yes.
That distance between all of them to those ports is about the difference between 5 to 10 nautical miles. But these problems of drug are not evident as it is in our own case. So it means that's not an excuse.
That is.
Let me go now to the subject matter.
You don't know the stories, because Senegal has the same problem. Guinea-Bissau had a big problem, in fact, to the extent that the president was chased out in Guinea-Bissau by drug lords. And Guinea also has same problems. The former president's son was complicit. And also here in Sierra Leone, you can see. So we are not immune to that. All of us are in that accident of geography.
So Honorable, why does the president believe that we are being referred to as a narco state and not other countries where you've stated that
the president did not believe that?
But he mentioned that.
No,
he
says we are actually staging ourselves as we are we're trying to pose as if we are the narco state. Nobody has called us a narco state.
Who is doing this
Once
posing?
they call you a narco state,
Who are the we that are doing this posing, Honorable?
We Sierra Leoneans, we write on social media, we make comments, all these things go out. We give ourselves names that we don't deserve. That is the problem, and it does not make people want to
might the we be members of the opposition?
No. I said we Sierra Leoneans. Okay. If the opposition, you consider them to be members of Sierra Leone, then they are part of Sierra Leone. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. So my apologies for taking back the subject matter to that.
Thank you very much, Honorable, for that.
Thank you, sir. My apologies. To go back to that. So my question.
We would have to get back to that.
Okay.
Honorable Alpha Khan, I asked you earlier why the president, in so many words, spoke about the drug situation, but refused to touch on the allegations of his family's connection to Yoslaijekas. A situation in itself, the Yoslaijekas, that is now bringing such an inconvenience between Sierra Leone and the EU.
Well, I think, first of all, the name Laidekas did not arise yesterday, neither from questioners nor from any presentation. And you know, we're taught in school.
That's exactly the point.
I am coming.
But he spoke about drugs.
I am coming.
It's
an allegation.
Part of the drugs
it's an allegation. The president does not deal with allegations. Allegations are left to those who can investigate it.
But
it's in the hands.
But cautioning Sierra Leoneans to stop referring to Sierra Leone as a narco state is also an allegation. Melvin just said there is no official report from any institution referring to Sierra Leone as a narco state. So speaking to even citizens, cautioning them about referring to Sierra Leone as a narco state is in itself part of the allegations.
I have read articles written by Sierra Leoneans which describe Sierra Leone as a narco state. I've seen them.
Honorable,
so that is not an allegation.
Let's put our eyes back on the ball.
So
the question is, why did President Bio not speak to the allegations around himself and his family, the first family, in connection to Yoslaijekas?
I have just told you that the president does not deal with allegations. The president deals with facts and objectivity. When there are allegations, there are agencies and institutions in the country that can investigate that. And the question of the gentleman you're talking about, that issue is being investigated and always followed up by the right agencies in Sierra Leone, not the president. The president has delegated jobs to other people to do.
But the president had the opportunity to speak to that issue if he wanted to speak to that issue.
As it is an allegation,
as you see, as you saw from yesterday's situation, he was being interviewed by his employee, the Minister of Information. No way the minister would have interrupted the president had the president gone to the area of speaking to the allegations around his family and Yosli Jekers. There's no way there would have been that possibility for Chernobyl to interrupt the president and say, stop speaking about that, had the president really wanted to speak to that issue.
My dear, Chernobyl was not controlling what's coming out of the mouth of the mayor. Chernobyl was not controlling what is coming out of Umuja. Chernobyl was not speaking for Mr. Amadou Pamara, who spoke. Chernobyl was not speaking for the other people who were there. If they wanted to ask that question, it was important to them, they would come up with it. They did not come up with it.
But the president now, he himself as an individual and his family, beyond just the country, himself and his family, with allegations of his daughter being in a relationship with that man, could have been an opportunity for him to speak to the people, his side of it, give clarity to those people who genuinely are confused with all the information circulating about his connection, including that video that had emerged on social media few hours away from the president, seeing that individual in a video. Pictures as well of that individual being in close proximity to the president. That could have been an opportunity for the president to speak to the people of Sierra Leone about his connection to that man, including his daughter's alleged connection.
I am saying, you see, when you're a leader, when you're a president...
Does the president not think it's important to clarify that to the people of Sierra Leone?
It is an allegation.
Yeah, but it's an allegation.
Presidents don't deal with allegations.
Nobody was expecting him to come and say, yes, I am connected to him, or no, I'm not. Just speaking to it so the people get to hear his side of these allegations. Does the president not think it's important to speak to the people of Sierra Leone regarding those very serious allegations, being that Yosli Jekers is one man that is really moving a lot of tension between Sierra Leone and the EU subtly, even though the EU Parliament itself officially is not as a body the one pushing this, but members of the Parliament are concerned.
And that same EU has just given us 2 speedboats yesterday. Now, let me tell you, the allegations, they are rumors. And as they say, facts are sacred. Rumors are free. Opinions are free. So we leave them where they belong, in rumor land, for now. When they become facts, then the president will address it.
So why would anyone take your word for it when why would anyone take your word for it when the president had an opportunity yesterday to speak to it, just as he used the opportunity yesterday to speak to many other issues, including WAEC did not come up yesterday as an institution for debate. But the president, along the line making his statement, boldly mentioned WAEC, saying he's got evidence. So again, why would anyone take your word for it when the president himself has had opportunities to speak to the people and give his side?
I just answered you on WAEC. It was not a rumor. It was a fact. That's why he addressed it. He was talking about examination malpractices. Which body is responsible for education, for examinations in this country? Only WAEC. So he had to speak about WAEC, and because there was a factual issue about it, he talked about WAEC. The one you're talking about, his daughter having a boyfriend or a girlfriend or something like that, that is rumor in the house. You know that it is the father is the last person to know what's happening. Do you know that?
It's rumor, could the president not have mentioned, clarified that to the public that that's mere rumor, no truth to it, or any kind of response he would have wanted
for now, we who speak for him, for me, as far as I'm concerned, it's a rumor. And the president has no business dealing with rumors. Then he wouldn't have time to do his work, because rumors abound more than facts.
Since you speak for him, is the president connected to your slyjackers or not?
That I cannot tell you. I don't think he is, because if he is, he would have told me. But I can say, I cannot just see a man in a church sitting behind me, for instance. You say I'm connected to
That
him.
was not
You
the
see,
only,
that was a church.
That was not the only footage.
Yes.
By the way,
And
the church video is not the only footage.
The other footage where?
Of in the president's farm as well.
The
It's
farm,
not
the farm
the
is
only
an open
footage.
space. Everybody goes there to work, my dear. If I find him in an intimate situation, then you can ask me. But I was a farm. Everybody was there. Everybody.
Melvin, the presidential spokesman has spoken for the president. He is not convinced that the president has any connection to your slyjackers. But also, it's a rumor, so the president did not necessarily have to speak about it. As a citizen, do you buy that? Or were you still expecting your president to speak to that issue to the people of Sierra Leone?
Absolutely, for several reasons. In law, there is what is called circumstantial evidence. The circumstances in which he has been seen with this man in question allegedly makes it onerous upon him to have at least used few words. Do you know what shocks me is the way he went very close by saying a certain personality, meaning that he is aware about this personality, but deliberately never mentioned his name. Another reason why I think he should and he ought to have mentioned that issue is the link with his daughter. If you look at all the international publications, what they are banking on, it is believed. If you look at publications in Holland, in Spain, and even in the UK, it is believed that Jos is fathering a child with the president's daughter. If I am the presidential spokesman or the president, for that allegation alone.
And he is a father first.
Exactly. You know what it means that you grandpikin allegedly na drug kingpin in Papa? I think as a father of his family and the father of the nation, he owes it to the people of Sierra Leone to have come out. But I think there's a defense line there. He mentioned, while talking about drugs, that he's expecting a comprehensive report on the assessment of our maritime and airspace situation when it comes to this problem. I hope
will his employees do that?
Well, I hope this report will attempt to go closer to that, or more closer to that, because that's a hope. For the fact that we are expecting a report, but he was not specific enough as to when this report will be published, what specific institutions are coming out, whether it's going to be the airports or the Sierra Leone Ports and Harbour Authority. We don't know. But I think a respite there is, we are expecting a comprehensive assessment on the porosity of the issue. And on the WAEC issue, again, I was expecting something sacrosanct, like he said, for Makama Road. That minister, if I make this road, that was his big delivery. But when it comes to that specific issue around WAEC, the president must understand and his advisors must tell him that he who asserts must prove it. You can't be casting aspersion or making allegations against a sub-regional institution like WAEC, and you're not adducing evidence. I'm expecting WAEC to come out to say some of these things are true or not true. Why? We have an option. Other countries have explored those options to dump WAEC. WAEC is not the only end-all be-all for someone to get university accreditation in other parts of the world. And I was looking forward to say, President, always you blame WAEC, but what are your plans for WAEC? Are we going to continue with this he said, she said, blame game over whether they are complicit or whether they are implicit or explicit on involving in malpractice? It was not forthcoming enough on that. So for me, I read the report, but for me, something is said, I mean, I know that maybe that's outside of your theme, but he spoke about cohesion. And he was very boastful that even a man, Alpha Cancer, said when he talk for me, is coming from elsewhere. But when I check, this president's cabinet is not ethno-regionally inclusive. My elder will say, oh, I'm too extreme. But when you check Phoebe and Swil, President Biya has got 28 ministers. And out of those 28 ministers, 18 are Southeasterners. I don't want to play the tribal rhetoric. If I want to be bold enough, I will tell you they are Mindis.
So when he says, oh, my cook, my spokesman, my chief of staff, those are isolated figures. He has got only 10. So if you, that was not a reflection of the reality. And I think for me, that was very huge. But of course, yes, he spoke about giving certainty that the census will hold. And when it comes to the constitutional review again, it was half. Well, I don't want to say, it was not specific enough, because he said, oh, we need this. It has been there for 30 years from Pakabato and Esbai Kuruma. But he omitted the fact that if he wants to get this constitutional review through, he needs the opposition cooperation. And he said part of that. But what is missing, he has not got the numbers for a new constitution. And for me, I was expecting much more details on that. So I think, yes, the president could have said as much as he wanted, but the lack of specificity, exactitude, and certainty is what makes me have some reservation on some of the things he said.
As we round off, how would you grade the town hall meeting from A to F?
Yeah.
Taking into consideration everything, the president's delivery, handling of the event, those who were invited, the questions that were asked, the answers that were proffered to those questions, and possibly the representation itself that happened within that town hall meeting.
So from A to F, in numerical terms, you're asking me to grade him from 1 to 6, right?
Yes, to 70, the pass mark.
Okay, so for the fact that not a president, people, and if you say a well or a not well, it was bold enough to face his people. For the fact that he was energetic, for the fact that it was
human. Maybe you can take a rate of 1 to 10.
Okay, let me go from 1 to 10. For the fact that it was humanistic at some point, where he said this is not blow mind, at some point he said this is not time for talk the good. I think on a ratio from 1 to 10, the demerits there were not much specific statements on what I have done, rather than what I intend to do. And put that in context with he spent 8 years. I think I will be fair with him to give him 4 out of 10.
Mm-hmm. Let's bring in Mola. What will be your assessment?
Well, I will have to look at the 6 clusters they presented, one of which was governance and security, social cohesion, agriculture, and the rest of it. When it comes to the agriculture, we are still 108 hungriest states in the world, and our mark is 23.4, is it? Yes, 28.4%. Imagine from 100%. And in his questioning where he responded, he said, we should not be focused on bringing food items into the country, and mechanizing agriculture is expensive, but we've not felt that reality. So it means what is being said in the hall and the reflective facts at separate ages. And the world is putting us at 28.4% out of 100. So on cluster 1, I'll grade him 3%. And on cluster 2, dealing with the national cohesion, I can sense quite recently we are growing in our peace index. That is true. The nation is quite peaceful. That we can agree with that. Among other states, religiously, intermarriages. So on that aspect, I'll grade the Sierra Leone and the government's national cohesion efforts to 7. And I'll cluster the remaining 4 now into 1. And the remaining 4, when it comes to our socioeconomic growth, which he was indicating questions towards, I think we're having a woeful failure from the government's part, because they've not been realistic in addressing prices. They've not been able to tackle our inflationary issues. And the socioeconomic strength of our country, of course, as you can see, we are 108 hungriest states in the world out of 123. So the event in Makeni, as I do believe, was an organized, programmatic plan of selling the ideal of the government. And the interface would have been broadened by the ordinary citizens. If that would have happened, they would have scored 8. But as it is, I'll give them 3.5.
Overall?
Overall out of 10.
Honorable Alpha Khan, 4/10 and 3.5/10. Is that reflective of the performance yesterday?
I told you the last time, I say me, the person like me, they not take me paper, give me mama made for back. No matter what you do, you glad yourself if you not cheer up. Now, the issue about the cabinet of His Excellency, the President. He has rightly said there are 28 ministers. And 10 of them, he says, they are Northwesterner. 10, that means 35.7% of his cabinet is from the Northwest. An area where his party is not strong, the base of which is Southeast. It's only about 64-point-something% that are from the Southeast. I think that is commendable. If you compare with our own cabinet when we first came, we had only 5 people from the Southeast. Only 5. Out of a cabinet of 30 people. So I leave him to do the maths. So for me, this president has done well. And I'm sure when he talks about cabinet, he does not include me there. If you do, that will be 11. But if you know that Timothy Kaba comes from Lokomasama, you will not put him in the Southeast. If you know that Fantamadi Bangura comes from Kukuna, you will not put him in the
They are
Southeast.
part of the 10.
So rather I'm telling you, and these are critical positions that they are holding. Foreign affairs from the Northwest, finance from the Northwest, chief of defense staff from the Northwest, and all that kind of thing. So for me, that question of the cabinet not being equitable is a non-starter. It's a beginning for me towards what the president wants us to do. That's why he's advocating for us to go into this executive sharing of power in the PR, so that your proportion of what you get in your elections and all that, what your people give you in terms of votes, will reflect in the cabinet. That is what you want to do. You don't leave this as a discretion to the leader. Now for these people, like I told you, no give me paper to me mama I made for Mark. For me, I think it was a resounding success. 8 out of 10.
Why not 10 out of 10?
Sorry?
Why not 10 out of 10, Honorable?
Because in life, if you always keep something behind the door, you should always do. You don't give absolute. If you have to adjust now, what do you do?
And what is the 2 kept
Suppose
for
it gets
yesterday?
better. What do? I make it 11 out of 10?
What is the 2 kept for from yesterday's encounter?
The 2 is kept for the next 2 years. And let us see, because he has to go to the Northwest now. He's done Freetown. He's done the East. He's done the North. Now he has to do the Northwest and the South. When he does that, then that 2 they go Panther. And you can see now 2 actually. I will take our Adam. Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Alpha Khan. You're still watching and listening to Wake Up Sierra Leone on AYV television. And of course, we appreciate your comments on Facebook so far. But don't forget to send in those comments. Of course, we're definitely going to read them. Now, over to sport. As we close this section, the Ministry of Sport on behalf of the government has officially received a partial handover of the $40 million United States dollars China-aided National Stadium rehabilitation project. The completed facilities and uncompleted facilities, which include the training field, basketball and volleyball court, the swimming pool, and of course the open and accessible public areas and the main bowl, has been handed over. However, little progress has been made on the main bowl as stated, but the section most Sierra Leoneans are waiting to see completed is of course the main bowl stadium pitch, so they can return to watching games in Sierra Leone again of the national team. Let's join Mariesta Samora for the report.
Work on the China-aid National Stadium rehabilitation project began in February 2022 with a 2-year target for completion. Although the project was originally stated for completion in 2024, the delayed handover of these key facilities is now evident, showing visible progress despite the extended timeline. The practicing field, basketball court, refurbished hostels, and the swimming pool have all been formally handed over to the Ministry of Sport for the benefit of the public. The upgraded practice field is poised to host top-tier football matches, providing local clubs with state-of-the-art facilities. The Sierra Leone Basketball Federation president recognized the support of both the government and China, but maintained that more could be done to enhance the basketball infrastructure.
This is, we were waiting for this day to come because, as you know, basketball, we've been having a lot of difficulties to have access to a basketball court, and finally, after 4 years of waiting, the basketball court is ready to be handed over. It's been handed over to the ministry, and the ministry obviously is going to be handing it over to us, and again we can look forward to the league and basketball being played again on a normal basketball court and freely without any restrictions and so on. I was not here when they were doing the arrangement for the basketball court, so yes, we wanted more seating and wanted probably even an indoor facility, or at least let it be covered, but again we have to be satisfied with what they're providing to us now.
The swimming pool facility was also handed over to the government of Sierra Leone. What does it mean for athletes, especially it being the only standard Olympic facility for swimmers in Sierra Leone?
It's a good stepping stone for all Sierra Leoneans because now the 50-meter swimming pool has come back to its Olympics standard look, because before we used to have only one starting block. Now we have two from both ends, which makes it a very unique, and then it's the same length, because it was previously 8 lanes. I think there was change in the tiles and the starting blocks as well, and then the drainage system, because it used to be a middle depth of 2.0, but now it's a level pool with 1.8 meters deep, which is also good for international standard.
Whilst other facilities have been refurbished and added over to the government, the main bowl of the stadium remains entirely untouched, and it is not a side matter.
After the agreement of the seat installation, an assessment of the current structure was made by the Chinese Technical Assessment Team. It was indicated that the current slabs could not hold the seats because it is prefabricated and has to be demolished, removed, and recast. This definitely extended the time frame of the project. But when finally done, Sierra Leoneans and all of the people living in this country will be opportune to have an almost brand new stadium, a state-of-the-art that will stand the test of time and that will meet the requirements of hosting international matches in our country.
The ambassador of the People's Republic of China to Sierra Leone talked about the long-standing relationship between the two countries and reminded those present that the stadium, originally built by the Chinese, has now undergone 4 renovations under their guidance. He affirmed China's commitment to supporting the development of sport in Sierra Leone.
National Stadium is the symbol of a China-Sierra Leone friendship. At this handing over ceremony, I would like to share our joy with all Sierra Leonean friends who love sports and committed to China-Sierra Leone relations. Our joy comes from the continuation of the friendship between China and Sierra Leone. China was not only the donor of the national stadium, but also the main supporter of its 4 previous renovations. Since it was built in 1978, the Chinese side has helped Sierra Leone renovate the stadium in 1992, 2001, 2019, and 2022, respectively.
The handing over ceremony was attended by high-profile figures from the sports sector, including administrators, coaches, and athletes.
Footages for this story were captured by Abubakar Kabu. I am Mariesta Samura reporting.
Many thanks to Maria Esther Samora for that report. Well, this morning to discuss the partial handover of the National Stadium in our studios, we have Alhaji Mansare. He is a sport analyst and a sports media guru here in Sierra Leone. And also we have the reporter there, Maria Esther Samora, that gave us that report. Alhaji and Marie, good morning and welcome to AYV.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Alhaji, let me start off with you. The government has described this as a major milestone. Is this really a major milestone?
I would want to disagree, considering the fact that this renovation started in 2022. Yes, when we played against the Super Eagles of Nigeria, it was, I think, an AFCON qualifier. Yes, it was an AFCON qualifier. That was the last match we played at that stadium, and it was actually banned by the Confederation of African Football, CAF, and FIFA from playing all international matches. And then we had the renovation of the stadium. Remember, the stadium was constructed, was actually built in 1979. And since then, it was supposed to be a 2-year renovation project. It was launched in 2022. The end of 2022, the project was launched, and the renovation started. When the renovation started, a lot of concerns have been coming up. From 2 years, it went to 4 years. Now it's almost like 6 years since 2022 when the project was launched. A lot of questions has been asked around what has been the delay, especially with regards the main bowl where our national team, our national pride, Leone Stars, have been playing. First, it was reported that the seats were the major problem, that it was the Chinese that wanted to hand the stadium over, and they did not wanted the seats to be installed. And then SLFA came in that FIFA and CAF are requesting that we had seats fixed in the stadium. A lot of issues have been going back and forth. But the sad thing is this has actually disturb the progress of sports development in Sierra Leone. Because when you look at certain sporting disciplines over the years, for example, swimming, they have been deprived from having a decent facility to represent Sierra Leone admirably in international competitions. They have been going to beaches, they have been going to places you don't even want your kid to go to swim. You know, it's very unfortunate. Sports like basketball, they have been deprived also of representing Sierra Leone internationally because of not having a proper facility to play the game, volleyball, and all the like. So it has been really disturbing. But coming to football generally, which has been the biggest sport in Sierra Leone, Sierra Leone has failed to qualify for back-to-back African Cup of Nations since we last qualified in Guinea when we played against the Beninois. We have failed to qualify back-to-back because of the fact that we are not playing our home matches at the Shaka Stevens Stadium. And for these qualifiers again, the unfortunate part is we have actually find ourselves in the most difficult group ever we could not or even want to find ourselves. We'll be playing against the Warriors of Zimbabwe. We'll be playing against the Equatorial Guineans from Malabo. We'll be playing against DRC, the Leopards, who will be playing England today in the round of 32 in the FIFA World Cup. And looking at those three countries we are playing against, we are the least favorite, and we are not playing at home. So for us, personally, I am really disappointed that we are not going to play our AFCON qualifiers at home. And our chances also of qualifying are in danger. We are going to miss 3 consecutive AFCONs if we fail to qualify for this AFCON. So it's becoming more of a very, very difficult situation. And for me, this partial handover, I don't think it makes sense at all.
That's what I want to understand. What does this partial handover mean? Now, the main reason we had the stadium renovated in the first place was the condition of our pitch.
Absolutely.
Nigeria came and played and they were like, no. This is not up to even CAF
It was all
standard.
over the news, yes.
We need you, CAF and FIFA, to tell Sierra Leone to upgrade their stadium. Rightly so, we had this grant from China, $40 million United States dollars. You know, the whole buzz around it, our stadium is going to change. And then they're leaving it in a worse condition that it was even, before the renovation. At least we had grass. Even if now cow them we had grass.
Yes.
They're leaving it with sand. And the minister is there smiling. What message are we really sending?
I think it's appalling. The truth is, the project has not been taken seriously over the years. A lot of questions has to be asked by the former Minister of Sport towards the former Minister of Sport, Ibrahim Yelenke, because he was the one that actually signed the agreement with the Chinese people for the renovation of the stadium. I mean, the NSA also, they were part of that agreement. But you will want to know what has been the significant delay since 2022 to now. The stadium was constructed in less than 2 years, and the renovation now has taken more than 4 years.
And the Chinese constructed it, so they have the blueprints to renovate
So
it.
you'll want to ask, if the stadium was built in less than 2 years, how can we renovate the stadium in more than 4 years? This is the big problem. And the honest truth is, the stadium is not going to be available anytime soon. That is the clear picture. In fact, it has been confirmed that Leone will not play our home matches in the Shaka Stevens Stadium for these AFCON qualifiers. That has been sealed and settled. We are either going to be playing our matches in Guinea or in Liberia. And Sahelians are eager, we want to go Nations Cup. But if you want to play the highest continental competition in Africa, you'll want your people to be behind your back to support you. And the teams we have been drawn against, you could see the reality that qualification is going to be very Herculean. And that is why we have been calling on the NSA and the Ministry of Sports to stop babysitting these Chinese people. Because what we saw yesterday is babysitting. How can you present a facility of volleyball, basketball, not even the track has been taken care of. And football and athletics are the most popular sport in Sierra Leone, with all due respect to other sporting disciplines. Then you're doing a partial handing over. That's a scam, bro.
Esther, doesn't it count for something that some of the other facilities, the hostels, the swimming, the basketball, some of those other facilities are now complete, and those in those disciplines can now have access to the facilities? Doesn't it count for something?
Well, you heard from the president of the Basketball Federation what they expected was not what they got. Because at the end of the day, if we are talking about $40 million project, and the government has also added another $7 million for the installation of seats. Because what the then minister said was that because it was 40 million, they expected the Chinese people to have included seats in the project. But unfortunately, the Chinese people said seats were not part of the project. So now the government of Sierra Leone came in and they've also provided another $7 million. So now we are talking about $47 million project for this renovation of the stadium. The basketball president, you heard from him, according to him, they expected an indoors facility with toilets. But now, if you look at the basketball court that has been renovated, they had to use the toilet facility at the practice field because there was no provision for a toilet facility at the main court. And they were also expecting plastic seat for the courts. But it was evident during the handing over ceremony yesterday, there were no seats. It was just the same. So there are so many concerns. And for the swimming pool, the coaches, they are happy that it has been extended. But unfortunately, the diving pool was left out. And according to them, they said that the diving pool was also not part of the project. That report will definitely come tomorrow so that Sierra Leone can see the current state of the diving pool, which is also part of the project. And so there are so many concerns. For the hostels, it is very much classic, I will say, but will it be used at this moment? I don't think so. Like Alhaji mentioned, the main bowl is the priority for sport in this country.
Esther, let's say now, as it were, that the main bowl would have been catered for without the seats. Why is it the field in use? The $40 million was meant to renovate the stadium, you know, get back to the actual turf that will be CAF and FIFA approved. But the turf is still yet uncompleted. Let's forget about the seat. Let me say now, okay, the seat was not part of the plan of that $40 million. Why is the stadium in that condition? The pitch itself.
Yes, according to the Minister of Sport, what she informed the press is that they wanted to do the partial handing over. After the handing over, they will commence the project. But like I said, that stadium, that main bowl, if you look down, it has the Karate Federation. A whole lot, more than 10 sporting disciplines are using that main bowl facility, the roundabouts of the down floor of that particular facility for their various sporting disciplines. A whole lot, more than 10. You have the tennis, you have the karate, all of them, the judo, all of them use that facility to do their sporting disciplines. And they have been deprived for over 4 years. Nothing has been done. Now athletes will be traveling to Scotland for the 2026 Commonwealth Games. And if I tell you now, for the athletes, some of them, they'll be practicing at Fabe College, whilst others are using facilities that are not good. And you are talking about going into a standard competition. So at the end of the day, it definitely affects the athletes. So we were expecting the Ministry of Sports and the National Sports Authority to have urged the contractors to make sure they do the main bowl. Because at the end of the day, if they've presented the practice field, which is not usable for most of the activities, then one might say much has not been done.
What should be the responsibility of the president of the Sierra Leone Football Association here? Now that I mean, this has been affecting other disciplines. We've been saying, you know, for a very long time, other disciplines do not even have, you know, arenas, you know, to train. Now it's affecting football. We're playing all of our international competitions, especially for the Leone Stars, out of Sierra Leone. What should be the responsibility of the president of the Sierra Leone Football Association now? Should he turn to the government and negotiate to ensure that we have the stadium up and running? Or is he just going to sit by and say, since it's the government's responsibility, let them handle it?
This has nothing to do with the president of the Football Federation. It has something to do entirely with the Ministry of Sports and the National Sports Authority.
In short, the government of Sierra Leone?
Yes, the government of Sierra Leone, because the stadium facility is directly under the control of the government of Sierra Leone. That is why when these seats were excluded from the project, what the minister did and the then executive director of sports, Emmanuel Safa Abdullahi, what they did was to engage the president of Sierra Leone, that is His Excellency, Dr. Julius Marabio, to engage the leadership of the People's Republic of China. So that was what happened. So the president of Sierra Leone was able to intervene for the installation of the plastic seats. So another negotiation started last year of November. And the then director of sports was saying, oh, by the end of 2026, the stadium will be ready. The minister also was very much confident that the main bowl, in fact, the entire project will be ready by the end of 2026. But from the look of things,
now
that is
the
not
concern,
evident.
Marie. They launched this in 2022 and it was meant to be a 2 years project. So by 2024, we were expecting that the stadium...
April 2024.
We were expecting that the stadium would be up and running, available for use. But this is 2026. 4 years later, we're still at the conversation of when the stadium, they would complete the renovation. People in the sports world, what are they saying? Are they convinced that the 2026 deadline would be met?
Everyone is upset. Sierra Leoneans are upset. If you take the mic outside, every single Sierra Leonean is very much upset that they have not been able to watch various sporting activities at the main bowl. For example, I have my uncle. He will only go to the Siaka Stadium to watch boxing, the sporting event. That is what he loves. But since that stadium has been under renovation, he has not been opportuned. Because when they do host the boxing, the sport now, they take it to Bo. You understand? And it is not popularized. People don't have the opportunity to watch boxing, the sports. For Leone Stars, like mentioned, the Southern Arena is there, but it has not been approved by CAF or FIFA to be hosting Leone Stars sanctioned games. So people were not expecting this particular project to last for 4 years. And we are talking about 5 years now, because that stadium won't be ready for use by 2026, ending of 2026. You need to think about the plastic seats. Are they here? No.
What was the explanation from the Chinese people to the Ministry of Sports about the delay? Take the seats aside. There could have been much work to have been done right now, where you would see that the only thing left is the installation of the seats. But that is not the current picture. What explanation did the Chinese company give?
So that is a huge problem now with the Ministry of Sports and the National Sports Authority, because people were thinking, oh, they should have held the contractors accountable. But at the end of the day, when the minister comes, or when the NSA, the then NSA director comes, or anybody representing the government, all they will say, it was because the seats were excluded. So the negotiation was very much long for them to have completed the negotiation of the seats to be included. So that's just the excuse they've been giving.
That doesn't sound convincing.
Exactly.
If it was just about the seats, the whole place would have been completed, only waiting on seats to arrive to be installed.
In fact, yesterday,
but that's not the picture.
We also tried to get access to the main board, but we were denied. So we have to tell them that AYV, we have our drone cameras, which would take definitely shots of the main board. But I'll tell you, the only thing that has been done currently at that main board is the scoreboard that has been fixed. Other than that,
for clarity's sake, Marie, the pictures, the video we see right now of the stadium, how recent is this video?
In April. But I'll tell you, as latest as yesterday, when we also tried taking drone shots, it was just the same. Like I said, the only difference now from April to now is the scoreboard that has been fixed. But the main bowl is virtually empty.
Earlier on, Alaji was saying we are now in the toughest group compared to previous. Do you agree? Is this the toughest we've had?
Yeah, it will be so difficult for Sierra Leone to book the qualification from that group, even though in football anything is possible. But like Alhaji mentioned, we've seen the outstanding performance of DIC in the ongoing World Cup, holding Portugal to a 1-0 draw. And they've been doing tremendously well. They'll be playing today against England. And people are anticipating their qualification to the round of 16. Equatorial Guinea is not a small team when you talk about African football. They've been doing tremendously well. So at this stage, we should be thinking of putting our house in order. How? When the stadium is not ready. At times, they say the supporters are the 12 men in the pitch of play. So if you have the support, people giving accolades to the player, they turn around, oh, my family are dear, Sierra Leoneans are dear, they want this result. Actually, they will give their best. But unfortunately, playing our games away from home for the past 4 years, it has a whole lot of economic implication. The businesses, people who depend on getting their day-to-day bread from their sales at the stadium are being deprived. You talk about hostels, you talk about stewards, all of them are being deprived because we are not playing our games at home.
Is it a situation wherein members of the sport discipline in this country are enjoying favors when it comes to playing our games outside? Is that the case why they are not pressuring the government to...
Members of the public, you mean the supporters?
No, members of the sports authority in this country.
Few selected people are really enjoying this
whenever we have trips, they go, you give them per diem. Is this why they are not pressuring government to finish this
Now,
stadium?
at the end of the day, few selected people, like you mentioned, are really benefiting from this. Because now, if you talk about playing our home games away from home, you'll be booking hostels for the teams. And if you say one player, for you to just take one particular hostel, you need to spend how many $1,000 as compared to when you're hosting at home. You need to buy tickets to fly these players. But if you're thinking of playing the games at home, the home-based players, you don't need to buy tickets to fly them to play these games because you're thinking of playing the games at home. So the economic implication is there, and there are people benefiting from this particular predicament.
Do you think it would have made much sense to just construct a brand new stadium as opposed to just renovating this, given the amount of money spent, the duration it has taken us to get the renovation, and the consequences of the delay in the renovation in sporting disciplines across the country?
When the project was launched in 2022, we were really excited as sport enthusiasts. We were looking forward to the fact that we know we are going to have our national stadium refurbished and with better facilities, because constructing a new stadium in the capital city is going to be a huge problem, because first of all we have to get the land, and it has to be at least in the center of Freetown, and that's a big concern. So the reality was getting the stadium fixed and ensuring we have decent seats, and ensuring also we have a proper standard of a stadium we can boast of for the next 10, 15 years for another innovation. Because in Africa generally, when it comes to stadium, the last stadium we qualified for the AFCON, the Lansana Conte Stadium in Guinea, has been banned by FIFA and CAF because of the current status of that stadium in Guinea. In fact, we started our own innovation before the Guineans, and I can confirm to you that the Lansana Conte Stadium in Guinea
has now been approved,
by the Confederation of African Football, CAF and FIFA, to host international matches for the Guinea national, the silly national of the Guinean national football team. We started earlier before them, and this is the present status we are finding ourselves. I know the SLFA will be having this in mind, that you know, Sierra Leoneans are looking forward, all the youngsters we want for qualify. But the reality is, all these teams you see going into the African Cup of Nations, back to back, qualifying every 2-3 years, is because of the solid infrastructure they have back home.
And our own reality is we're running out of time for this episode, but in a few seconds, in our reality, are you hopeful? Our chances? Do you think we'll qualify?
It is difficult, Phoebe. African football is difficult to predict.
Okay.
But
Esther,
at the moment,
what do you think? We
it's
just have a few
50-50.
seconds to run.
Anything is possible.
Okay.
Just need to prepare very well. Let's be optimistic.
All right, anything is possible. Let's prepare, let's pray. Even though not football, we should play. This is where we end today's edition of Wake Up Sierra Leone. We say many thanks to our sponsor, Wakeup Commercial Bank, and to our audience. We appreciate your time for joining us this morning. Until we meet again for another exciting edition of Wake Up Sierra Leone, I am Bokari Matia.
And I am Phoebe Nswil. Have a lovely day. Take care and bye for now. See you tomorrow.
Only they can see where the clouds